Namaste, beautiful. Welcome to practice. Today we're going to be covering the standing sequence of the Ashtanga primary series. So I'd like to put a little disclaimer that it's possible that what I would tell you will be slightly off from the traditional way of practicing the primary series. The purpose of this is not because I am teaching Ashtanga, but rather that I practice a lot of Ashtanga on my own, and I also sometimes like to put parts of it within my Vinyasa classes. And I also don't like to stop and teach during my Vinyasa classes because I find it to be disruptive sometimes. So I want to have pieces of pretty much every class that are separate, which is why I'm doing this. So if what you're trying to do is learn Ashtanga, I mean, it will help, but I'm not the best Ashtanga practitioner in the world. And I know that, and that's why I am not teaching it in full yet. I would like to at some point. I love Ashtanga. I seriously believe in it so much, and that's not what we're doing today. We're doing this because, sometimes, so I've shared a few warm-ups already that I like to do at the beginning of sequences, but also sometimes I like to do this because I find it to be very grounding, and it helps me to really be focused to then go into whatever sequence I do afterwards. And I think sometimes if I do something else to warm up, then it's harder to focus during that sequence and I won't do it as well. So yes, all that being said, if you have not done anything to warm up, I would recommend that you do some sun salutations first. So do sun salutation A and sun salutation B before going into this. If you don't want to, you're probably not going to get hurt, but you might, so be forewarned. Do whatever you want. All right. Okay, so we would have just finished our sun salutation Bs here, so we will be in Samasthiti. And then we're going to bring our hands to the hips, and we're going to inhale and jump the feet so that they are hip width distance apart. And then we're going to exhale and we're going to fold forward and we're going to grab a hold of the big toes. And then we're going to inhale with a flat back, so straightening the arms and flattening the back and looking forward. And then exhaling and pulling on the toes to bring the belly to fold over the thighs. And so we're kind of looking at the floor. You're looking at the big toes, I guess, here. And the elbows are back. And so pulling on the toes. If your body cannot have straight legs here, then you could be pulling on the toes and your legs can be bent. That's okay. Yeah? Alright. So we're getting this nice hamstring stretch here, which is important as we continue through the series. So here we're taking 5 breaths. And then after the 5 breaths, then we inhale and straighten the arms again. And then place the hands underneath the feet now. So now we're taking a hand and we're putting underneath. And so the big toe is kind of lined up with like the wrist. Yeah, so the entire hand is underneath the foot. And so then we exhale and we fold forward again. And this time we bring the elbows out. And again, we're taking 5 breaths here. So we can activate our Ujjayi breath, which I suppose I will teach in a different class. And so really pressing the balls of the feet into the hands. Like you want a lot of pressure on the hands here. And hopefully it feels really nice. And again, if your legs can't be straight, then it's okay to have them bent this way. Try to keep the back pretty flat and have the belly touching the thighs. Yeah. And then inhale, straighten the arms up forward. Exhale, bring the hands to the waist. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. And then exhale, jump the feet together. And our toes are together. Our heels are slightly apart. So now we are back in Samastitihi. Okay, so from here, then we go into triangle. So we're going to, I'm going to move slightly forward. Okay, so now we're going into triangle. So we're stepping back with the right foot with an inhale and then rotating to the back. And so now we have our right foot is facing this mirror for me, the back of your room or your mat. Our hips are still square here. And so our heel of the front foot of our right foot is about in line with the highest part of the arch in the left foot. Yeah. And so then Ashtanga style with an exhale. So you're going to kind of like move the left hip back a little bit and then exhale. And hang on, let me face this way. Exhale, go ahead and grab a hold of the big toe if possible. And then we want our hips to be such that if there was a wall or something behind us, that both butt cheeks are on the wall. Because we don't want to be closing in like this. This is a different position. We want the hips to be square and open here. And then our left hand is up and we're looking up at the left hand. So this is a full expression, but of course, it can be difficult to find this in the body if you don't have the mobility yet. So if this is not quite in your practice yet, then you can have the right hand in front of your right foot, or you can have it in back of your right foot, or you can have it hovering. You can have it on a block so that you have something that you can be touching. Yeah. But so full expression, we have a hold of our right toe and we're opening up. Our shoulders are in line and we're looking up at the left hand. And then we take 5 breaths here. After our 5 breaths, we inhale and then we rotate to the other side. So we bring our right foot, so now it is parallel, and we bring our left foot so it's perpendicular to the right, and just keep moving. And then with an exhale, then again we kind of shift back a little bit on the right, and then we reach toward the left big toe, and we look up at the right hand. Sometimes I wish you could hear all of the cracking and popping that happens in my body. I don't think I've ever in my life gone into triangle in when I'm practicing Ashtanga that my hip doesn't pop, and I feel like that is a good sign. Okay, so we have 5 breaths here, same alignment as before. Both butt cheeks are as if they were touching the wall. We have our shoulders in line, we're looking up at the right hand. Yeah? Okay, so then we would inhale and come up. And then again, we're gonna face the back again. So then we're turning the left foot. Now it's gonna be at about a 45-degree angle. So our right foot is again facing forward, our left foot in. So you might want to change your alignment slightly here. Yeah, I think it's okay if I'm facing this way. You might want to change the alignment slightly so that the feet can be kind of on two different tracks, right? So as if we were, our feet were together and then we were to step forward. And then the back one is rotated about 45 degrees. Yeah. And so then we'll have our arms out before we exhale down. Okay, so we came from triangle on the left, and so then we inhale up, we rotate, and so as we rotate this way, then we can use this to help our hips be square, right? So we want our hips to be, I think everybody knows what square hips means, right? Okay, and so then with an exhale, you're gonna again reach toward the floor, and then now we're taking the right hand or the left hand, so it is on the outside of the left foot, and hips are pretty square here, and then we're looking up at the right hand, and so kind of creating this space as much as you can between the right shoulder and the right hip, looking up at the right hand and pulling back on the right shoulder so that, again, our shoulders are pretty in line here. Right, so a lot of the twisting that's happening, it's in the upper body here. Yeah? Okay, so we are down here and we are holding for 5 breaths. And again, if you can't reach the floor, then you can be hovering, or you can have your hand on a block to allow you something to have your hand on. Yeah? Okay, so 5 breaths, and we come up with an inhale. We rotate again. Oops. So now we're facing forward, and our left foot is front. Maybe you need to change the alignment of the feet slightly. I find that they kind of naturally will fix themselves, but also I've literally done this hundreds of times, so I don't know. Maybe it's because I've trained it. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we come up, inhale, rotate. So now we're rotated, and we are rotated before we reach down to help with the alignment. Yeah? Okay, and so then with an exhale, we come down, we place our right hand on the outside of the left foot. We're pulling back on the left hip and forward on the right hip, making nice space between the left shoulder and the left hip. And then we're reaching up with the left hand and keeping the shoulders open here and looking up at the left hand. And here we hold for 5 breaths. And then we inhale, and we come up, and so then we kind of rotate so that we are facing, which would be kind of the right side of our mat if we had a mat, and then rotate the front foot forward, and then step forward with the right foot and bring the hands down to Samasthiti. Okay, so let's go over it, but without holding the 5 breaths, just to make sure that we got it down. Again. All right, so triangle. So we step back, rotate the feet, bring the left hip out, reach down toward the floor, grab a hold of the right big toe, looking up, hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, come up, rotate the right foot, rotate the left foot, bring the right hip out, reach toward the floor. Grab a hold of the left big toe, look up toward the right hand, hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, rotate all the way to the back, rotate the shoulders so that they're facing the left side of the mat. Exhale, bring the left hand down to the outside of the right foot. Pull back on the right hip, look up at the right hand, and hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, come up, rotate back to the front, turning toward the back side of the mat, bringing the right hand down to the floor, pulling back on the left hip, and looking up at the left hand, holding for 5 breaths. And then here we inhale and come to kind of a wide leg with our feet parallel. And then we exhale and bring our hands back to Samasthiti with our feet together, big toes together, and heels slightly apart. All right, so that's triangle. So then from here, we're going to step back a little bit wider. So now we're going into extended side angle. So we're stepping back. I do have a class on extended side angle. And so then we are bending in our right leg. So we want our stance to be such that our left foot is perpendicular to the right foot. Our hips are still square to what would be the right side of our mat. And then now we're taking our right hand and we're bringing it to the outside. In Ashtanga, we're on the outside of the right foot. You can have it forward if that is more accessible. You can also have your elbow on your knee if that works better. You can have your hand on a block if that works better. But full expression in Ashtanga is such that our right hand is on the outside and the left hand is reaching up overhead. So we want a really nice straight line from the left hand to the left foot. And then we're looking up at the hand. And so our shoulder, I'm not staying in that for the whole time. So you're bringing kind of it forward. And some teachers might tell you to kind of open the shoulder here, but I find that for Ashtanga, really, like if you just bring it forward this way, this is what feels the best, and that's what's going to get you that straight line. So do what you want. Maybe if your teacher tells you to open it, then do it, or maybe don't. Can you tell the teacher has told me to open it? Anyway, all right, here we go. So we have our extended side angle here, where our knee is over the heel, ideally. Is it? And we have our hips pretty square here, as much as we can. Our right hand is on the outside. Hand is over, we're looking up at the hand. And we hold for 5 breaths. And then we inhale. And we come up to center. And then again, we rotate the right foot in. And we rotate the left foot out. And now I'm going to go into this angle. And so bend, 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 bend. We'll reach the left hand down toward the outside of the left foot. Pull back on the right hip, making sure that the hips are square so that the right hip is up and the left hip is down. And reach the arm overhead. Look at the right hand. And here we would hold for 5 breaths. I feel my right foot was slightly off. And then we inhale. And now again, we're going to rotate. Okay? So now we're rotating the left foot about 45 degrees and the right foot, so again, it is facing forward. Now we're going into revolved side angle. So this twist can be quite intense and it can be difficult to access if you have the left heel on the floor. So if you need to lift the left heel up, then that is totally fine. Full expression, the heel is touching the floor. Yeah? All right. So again, we have our our square hips here. Our front leg is about a 90-degree angle. And now we are reaching to the outside of the right foot, which we can do by hooking, face this way, which we can do by hooking the left arm over the right leg, and then reach to the floor, touching the floor ideally, and then again reaching the arm up overhead. And so we're trying to have this space here right between the right shoulder and the right hip again, so we don't want to be like pulling in like this. We want nice space here, and we're looking up at the hand. Yeah. And then again we hold for 5 breaths, and then we inhale. And now we're going to rotate again. Okay, so if I was this way, so inhale, we're rotating again. So now our right foot is 45 degrees. Our left foot is at a right angle. And we're taking the right arm and we're hooking it on our left knee. We're reaching toward the floor with our right hand, and we're reaching overhead and looking at the hand. Now, of course, like I said, this is quite a deep twist, right? So you can be up on the toe here, so that instead of twisting all the way, right, this creates more of a twist when we have the toe out and the heel down. But if you then lift the heel up and you're on the ball of the foot, then it can help you to have a little bit less of a twist here when we're down. Yeah, so that would look more like, and this is what a lot of people will do, right, in a Vinyasa practice, but it's not Ashtanga, so. Okay, so then this one, right, it's easier to find the twist this way. And then maybe either if you're working toward having the heel down, or if you're just working toward the twist with the heel up, then instead of reaching toward the floor, then you can have just the elbows hooked. Yeah? So let me do this leg. And let's do it as if we were learning. Yeah? Okay, so we're up on the ball of the foot in the back, and so then we can be just rotating here. Yeah? Okay. So let's go over that, but without holding. Not. Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. All right, so here we go. So we would have just finished our revolved Trikonasana, and then we are going into our extended side angles. So we would step back with an inhale, rotate, and then, so all of this is with an inhale, yeah? So inhale, and then exhale. And then we hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, rotate, exhale, hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, rotate, exhale, hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, rotate, exhale, hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, and then again we're coming to feet parallel, hands are out, and then exhale, coming back to Samasthiti. Beautiful. That's one of the hardest poses, period, but also in Ashtanga. So at this point in the series, and we've already done Virabhadrasana I and extended side angles, those are difficult, okay? So from there we kind of have a little bit of a break. So from there we go into our wide leg forward folds, and there's 4 of them. And I like to consider this a nice little break. Okay, so again, you're stepping back with the right foot, and now we're facing the right side of our mat. And so our toes can be slightly in from our heels here. At this point, then it's kind of difficult to figure out exactly how far apart you want for your feet to be until you fold forward, in my opinion. Because when you fold forward, then ideally your head is descending toward the floor, but not touching the floor. So you kind of try to get it to the point that it's like just barely off the floor, and that's where you want your stance to be. So I generally know what mine is because of the number of times that I've done this, but you can check yours once you fold forward. Okay, so we're here. We're going to inhale, step back, and then exhale, we bring our hands to the waist. And then inhale, we're looking up at the nose and just kind of like slightly bringing the head up here. And then exhale, we come down. So for A, then we place our hands so they're kind of like in the center of the feet, and our elbows, so we have like, I guess they're slightly back from the feet. So our elbows here are at about a 90-degree angle, and our head is descending toward the floor, and we're looking at our nose. And so here we hold for 5 breaths. And then we inhale, and we straighten the arms, and again we're looking at the nose. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, come all the way up. Bring the arms out. Exhale, hands again to the waist. Inhale, looking up at the nose. Exhale, folding again. And now, now our hands are on the waist. And so now we want to be pulling our the elbows back as we fold forward. And so again, our head is descending toward the floor, trying not to touch the floor. We're looking at the nose and really pulling back on the elbows and coming forward as much as you can onto the balls of the feet. And so again, we hold for 5 breaths. All right, and then we're going to inhale all the way out this time. Bring the arms out, and then exhale. And then now we're going to interlace the fingers in the back. Like, am I going to be able to fold forward this way? So now we have our fingers interlaced here. You can do it either way. Maybe you want to do it to the right one day and then do it to the left the next day. I'll do it this way because I usually don't. And still our feet are such that our big toes are slightly in from our heels. We have about the same stance as we had before. And then we're going to inhale and kind of pull the hands back and look up either the ceiling or the nose. And then exhale, fold forward, and then bring the hands down toward the floor. So now I'll turn around. Okay, so your hands are now coming toward the floor, which is easier to bring them toward the floor the more you are over the balls of your feet. Okay, so you don't want to be kind of rocking back on the heels. Really be forward on the balls of your feet and pull those hands to the floor. This is an important pose because there's not that much that's preparing the shoulders, and this one does. So my recommendation is not to skip this one. Okay, and then we have 5 breaths here. And then again, we ride the inhale all the way up. Exhale. Inhale, bring the arms out. Exhale, bring them to the waist. Inhale, look up. And then exhale, coming down. And now we're grabbing a hold of the big toes with our peace fingers and our thumb, and pulling the elbows out. And so really similar to our the first pose. of the series, or of the sequence, right? So pulling the arms out and using the pull of the toes to pull your head down toward the floor. All right, so this is the fourth one, so this one can be the most intense one. And then pushing forward on the feet, so really stepping onto those fingers with the big toe. And here we hold for 5 breaths. And then we inhale, flat back here. Exhale, bring the hands to the waist. Inhale, come all the way up. Bring the arms out. Exhale, rotate, and step into Samasthiti. Beautiful. We're kind of almost there. Kind of. All right. It always feels like, oh, we're almost there at this point, but anyway, all right. So now we're going into pyramid pose. So for pyramid, then we're going to take in the arms and placing them behind the back, in prayer position behind the back. So this is what our full expression would be. We would have our hands so they're completely together in this prayer behind our back. It helps us to open up the shoulders. Helps us to open up the shoulders. If your hands cannot reach each other back here, then you can go ahead and grab onto the elbows or the hands or something that is helping you to pull the shoulders back. Yeah? I would really like for you to have your shoulders back here because as I was just saying in our forward fold, there's not too much that opens the shoulders, and this is the second thing that does. Okay? So we're going to take this position with our hands before we step back. Okay, so we take the hand positioning, and then with an inhale, then we step backwards again, and then rotate to the back of the room. And so now we have our right foot forward and our back foot is 45 degrees, and we are square in our hips. I'll face you. And we're square in our hips, and then we are folding forward. So again, with our folds, that means that we're folding. So that means that we're bringing our belly toward the thigh, and we're looking at the big toe here. And then we hold for 5 breaths. And once we complete our 5 breaths, then we inhale to come up, and then we will be facing this way. And then we rotate, we keep the hands behind the back. We might need to adjust the feet so that our right foot is 45 degrees, our left foot is in front, and then we exhale forward over the left foot. So we are looking at the left big toe. And then we hold for 5 breaths here. And then we inhale. And again, we rotate so that we are have our feet parallel and we are facing the right side of the mat. We bring our arms out, and then exhale, bring the feet together into Samasthiti. Okay, so from pyramid, then we move into the wonderful foot to hands. In my opinion, this is one of the most difficult parts of, well, many of the series. The front foot to hand in particular. Okay, so we have just completed our pyramids. We come up, we rotate, and we're back in Samasthiti. So now we take our left hand and we bring it to the waist. I often cheat, so when I'm teaching, I cannot cheat. And then we inhale, and we grab a hold of the right big toe with the right peace fingers. And then proper Ashtanga. As we exhale, we bring our nose or our chin to the leg. And so honestly, I try my best to do it. Sometimes I do not bring my nose to my leg. So there are several different ways that, well, there's a couple different ways that you can be doing this pose. Again, different teachers will tell you different things. So I will tell you some of those things that different teachers have told me. So one is that our leg is kind of not to our full expression. So it's not all the way up. And then from here, then what we're doing is bending forward. And then we have our elbow, so it's kind of in, yeah, instead of out here. So the elbow is also coming toward the leg, and then we're bent over this way. I'm going to show you the other one on the other side. Okay, so then we have the other side, or we're not actually on the other side yet, I'm just showing you. Okay, so we're holding onto the big toe, and so another version will be that you're all the way up here, and then bringing the nose forward. That is the variation that I typically choose. Both of them are difficult, yeah. So, I don't even know if it's necessarily that it challenges the balance that's difficult. It does challenge the balance, but it just feels awkward to be bending like that. I think a part, you know what I think is that I was a dancer for my whole childhood, and it's like forbidden to be bending over like that when you're lifting your legs. So actually, I think that's probably where it comes from. Anyway, I digress as usual. All right, so let's pick our left hands to the hip now, and we will practice. So then we're taking our right hands out. And so with an inhale, what we're trying to do is we're trying to, with a straight leg, lift the right foot and catch the big toe with a straight leg. Yeah? So inhale. And then we're going to exhale to fold. And then you hold for 5 breaths here. And then inhale, straighten the arm. And then exhale and open the hip to the side. And so when we open our hip here, again, there are, if you have hips that can open, they can be open in several different ways. So again, different teachers might tell you different things. My recommendation, as usual, is to do what feels good in your body. I even do it different ways, different times. I don't go to that many classes, but I know that there are certain people who in their class I should do it one way because that's what they're going to tell me to do. Even if that's not what I normally do. Giving away my secrets. Okay, so we have foot to hand. And so we'll come from, so we're inhale to to straighten the elbow. And then exhale, we bring the right leg out. Okay, and so what I mean here is so that this can either be so that it's the knee is like pointing up, or if you pull back and you open, then the knee is kind of pointing more back here. So I think ideally that is what we want to be doing, yeah? And then we're looking over to the left, over the left shoulder. And then here we hold for 5 breaths. And then we inhale and we come back to center. And at this point, we release the right foot. And then we hold this way for 5 breaths. And then we exhale and we bring our right foot down. All right. And so then we do the other side. So now we have our right hand on our right hip. And we inhale and I'm like, am I gonna hit this? And so we inhale, and we bring the left foot up and grab a hold of the left foot with our left peace fingers. And then we exhale, and we fold, and we touch the nose, and we hold here for 5 breaths. We inhale, straighten the arm, and then exhale, bring the hip out, bring the foot out, and look over the right shoulder. And then after 5 breaths, then we inhale, and we come back to center. We exhale, bring the nose back to the shin, and then release the foot and hold for 5 breaths. Exhale, bring the left foot down. Wonderful. Okay, so obviously this is a different day. I accidentally taught this pose wrong yesterday. I taught it as I put it into a sequence that I taught yesterday and not the proper Ashtanga way. So I'm going to teach you the proper way. So we have just finished our foot to hand, and so we're going into our next balancing posture. And so we're going to be standing on the left foot first, and then we take our right foot, and we're going to put it into Lotus. So please be careful of the knees here. Ideally, if we have already gone through the Ashtanga series up until this point, then our knees are prepared, and also they might not be. So yeah, please pay attention to your body and make sure that you are not doing anything with too much pain. Yes? Okay. So we're taking our right foot and we're bringing it into half lotus, and then we're taking our right arm and we are reaching for our right foot with our right hand. Okay? So then we have this kind of bind here, and from here, then we exhale down to a forward fold. We hold for 5 breaths, and we inhale, exhale, inhale up, exhale down, and then we switch legs. So then we take our left foot and we bring it to half lotus onto our right hip, and then we take our left hand and we reach for our left foot with our left hand. Okay, so we have this nice bind here. And then from here, so this is with an inhale, and we exhale forward. Woo! And we hold for 5 breaths. Inhale, flat back. Exhale. Inhale up. And exhale down. Okay, fixed it. And I'll continue. Now, Lotus is not something that all bodies have in them. So if you don't, then you can take a figure 4 here, right? Or basically just put your foot wherever it can be. So as high as it can be, just put it there, right? Because we're opening our hip here, but we're also working into our knees here. And so when the knees are involved, you really, really, really want to be careful, right? You do not want to injure the knees. So I hear. Yeah. All right. So yeah, try different places that you can be placing the leg if you're not, if it doesn't feel comfortable yet to have it in Lotus. And it's possible that some days it does feel comfortable and other days it doesn't. Please, 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 always listen to your body. Yes, your body's your number 1 teacher. Okay. Now we're kind of almost there. So then we're going to take, after our we finish with our balancing, then we're going to take a Vinyasa. So we go through like our sun salutation, and then we end that in a chair pose. Yeah. Okay. So we have put this foot down, And then we're going to inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back, heart forward, head forward. Place the hands, come back, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. This time we do not hold for 5 breaths. We come directly into our chair pose. Inhale, chair pose. So big toes together, heels apart slightly. We should be able to see our big toes underneath the knees. And this time we hold it for 5 breaths. Okay, so once we complete our 5 breaths in our chair pose, then we exhale, we come all the way down. Place our hands onto the floor. And then ideally, we can come up and we hover here. And then from the hovering, then we shoot all the way back to Chaturanga. I do not have that in my body yet. I can tell you what I do to almost do that. All right, so right, step 1, okay, you just are on the balls of your feet here and then jump back to Chaturanga, yeah? Or to Chaturanga. So what I do is I will lift up because I can do the lift part, and then I tap my feet before I jump back. Obviously, I don't know if that is going to eventually get me to do the full thing, but it's what I do. Okay. So here we hover, and then I can tell you what I think is the way to get back from hovering, which is be stronger than I am. But I think really just leaning forward and then pulling and then using this core compression, because that's what I need to do to even do what I can. Yeah. So we're leaning forward as much as we can, and we're pulling, up, in the navel, using that core, and then shooting back. And then we inhale to upward facing. We exhale to downward facing. We're almost there. Woo! And so then we're going to go back into our Warrior 1. So hopefully you have already familiarized yourself with Sun Salutation B, so you hopefully know how to get into Warrior 1. So we're going to rotate the left foot 45 degrees, doing our best to keep our hips square as we do so. And then we're going to step forward with the right foot in between the hands, continuing to keep our hips square. And then we inhale, and we bring arms up. So we have this nice right angle as much as possible with our right leg. Hips are both facing forward as much as we can, and our arms are up overhead, and we're looking up at the hands. And so here we hold for 5 breaths, and then we inhale and we straighten the right leg, and we rotate all the way to the back. So we're gonna then rotate the front foot so it's in 45 degrees, and then rotate the back foot so it is facing forward. And because, of course, if we were to leave our feet exactly where they were, then we would be crossed. Then it is going to require a little bit of adjustment in the feet to make sure that they are on their own tracks. Yeah, so we have our Warrior 1 here on our right foot. We check our alignment, make sure our hips are nice and square. Okay, and then we inhale. And then we continue to look up at the hands as we make this rotation. My recommendation is to then kind of heel toe the left foot out a little bit. And So feel it out. But to be honest, I always check them. Then once I get into it, right, so the full expression is that you're looking at the hands the entire time. But I do like to check to make sure I'm doing it right. Okay, so then when we get to the other side, then we bend back into the left leg. So now we're in Warrior One on the left side. And then we hold for 5 breaths this time. And then we inhale, straighten the left leg, open to the side. Again, fixing the feet slightly. So maybe you want to step back the right foot a little bit, because generally our Warrior Two, our feet are slightly wider than our Warrior One, I think. Okay, because now we're coming into Warrior Two. Okay, so we come from here, we inhale, straighten, bring the right foot so it's perpendicular to the left, and then come into our Warrior One on the left, and our hands are out. And for Ashtanga style, then we are looking up at the corner of the room. So in Hatha, then we are looking over our left fingertips here. In Ashtanga, then we are looking up at the corner. Okay, and so then we hold for 5 breaths here. And then we inhale and we straighten, and we change the positioning of the feet so that we're facing the other direction. Again, we come into our nice right angle with our right leg. Our hips are facing forward, so our hips are facing the same direction here as much as possible. Our arms are reached out, and we're nice and strong in our arms, and we are looking up at the corner of the room. And holding for 5 breaths. And then we come in, and then we kind of do a little handstand thing, and we come into Chaturanga, and we are done with the with the standing sequence. Okay, so we rotate our hands down, and we kick up, and then we come back into Chaturanga, upward facing, downward facing. And then if we're practicing Ashtanga, then we go into the, so if we were doing our primary series, then we would go into our floor series from here. If you're doing one of my classes, we will go into something else from there. Oh my goodness. We did it. All right, so that is, oh, perfect timing. My camera's about to die. That is the standing sequence of Ashtanga primary series. I hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments or send me an email. As always, thank you for being here, for allowing me to guide you, and I hope to see you in the next class. Love and namaste.